I realized now how wonderful my life was. I had a wife, Sophia, whom I had known since high school. She and I started dating when we were still in our final grades. Then we went to the same college so we wouldn't be separated. And in our freshman year, we started living together. About 6 months later, she got pregnant and we got married right away. Our parents also knew each other for many years, maintained good relations, and altogether helped us in every possible way. I worked part-time after studying at my father's firm, where he paid me 3 times more than he would pay a stranger. In general, life was wonderful. We loved each other. We had enough to live on. We had a beautiful, healthy son, and we were thinking that soon we could start making a daughter for the set. But, apparently, so a man is built that he always lacks something. And maybe I was just too young then, because now, 10 years later, I would never do what I did then. About a year after the birth of my son, I got bored. Everything seemed to suit me. I still loved my wife, and she loved me. We loved each other so much and so often that when Sophia was allowed to have sex again a month after giving birth, we broke the bed in the bedroom several times. Everything was fine, but as I wrote above, I started to get bored. I wanted something new or something. I was undressing with my eyes every female person I met, imagining her in different interesting positions. At that time, my father had a young woman named Laura working in the firm. She was a little over 30, but she looked younger than her years. A short brunette, she had a stunning figure, which she skillfully, but without vulgarity, emphasized successfully selected clothes. All the male half of our team at the sight of her friendly began to drool, and it so happened that I was planted in her office. At first, she was with me very dry and official, apparently deciding that I was planted to her to look after her. However, as time went on, she and I got to know each other better and became friends. At that time, Laura was divorcing her husband. The divorce was not easy, and gradually I became for her free ears, a person with whom she can talk. And if a woman begins to trust you so, then to be in her bed, you just need to show a little patience and pretend that you always listen to her attentively. And that somehow had happened all by itself. My wife with my son and mother-in-law went to their relatives for a week. I had nothing to do in the evenings. Well, how could I not offer a beautiful colleague to go somewhere to sit down on Friday evening? Naturally, only to discuss work processes. We discussed the processes so successfully that we stayed in bed all weekend. For about a year after that, we met regularly at her place several times a week. It was probably the best type of side relationship I've ever had. She was recovering from her divorce, so she wasn't making any plans for the future yet. I found the cure for boredom I was looking for. The best part was that this connection revitalized my feelings for my wife, which had already begun to fade from the monotony of family life. She and I broke the bed again. However, time passed and Laura more and more often began to slip questions about what's next. And it was escalating. She and I were still sitting in the same office, even though we were each doing our own work. And I was starting to get tense. I do not know also how, but my father found out about our relationship and I had a very unpleasant conversation with him. In the end, it all ended up that Laura herself decided to quit and our relationship ended. To say that I missed her is an understatement. I lacked not so much her specifically, but I needed some emotions and feelings that can only give a new, interesting, and beautiful woman. And I was hooked. I got a girlfriend in college. I found another one through a dating app. And finally, when my father and his partner opened a West Coast branch of the firm, I talked my father into making me something like an inspector for the branch. That way I was able to go on short but often sudden business trips. At least for my wife. Sophia, whatever they say about women's intuition, did not suspect anything for a very long time. And, yes, apart from the student and the girl from the app, I had an affair at work with one married female coworker. It is rightly said that nothing develops logistical skills like 3 lovers in different parts of the city. However, gradually I began to lose caution, and my happiness ended abruptly and rather sadly. The fire started simultaneously from all sides, and so synchronously that I at some time almost believed in conspiracy. It all started with my colleague's husband, who caught up with us at work one evening. We stayed there a couple times a week in the evening, naturally, to work with documents, tighten tails, etc. And here I am working, sweating in my office, on a nice leather couch. Then the door opens and her husband comes in and sees me and his wife in doggy-style position. The thing was that I had only seen him a couple of times before, and only in passing, so I didn't realize what was going on. Oh, that asshole started fighting from the doorstep. He's crazy. It was a big scandal. The guard from downstairs came running. Someone called the police, and the three of us were dragged to the station, where this fool told everyone what a bad wife he had and how he always had big horns, and how he could gore people with them. And that was just the beginning. Sometime that same week, my other girlfriend, who I've referred to here as the online girl, suddenly decided she couldn't take it anymore. Found my wife on Facebook and leaked all of our correspondence to her. And, following this, my couchmate's husband, a true horny warrior and fearless cuckold, forced her, under threat of divorce, to sue me for allegedly forcing her to have an affair with me using her official position as the boss's son. She made an appointment to tell me this, guiltily gave me a blowjob in the car, and ran to her husband. Father's lawyers left no stone unturned in court from these allegations, proving that, first, the plaintiff entered into a relationship with me voluntarily, and, secondly, I could not in any way force her to anything. As in terms of work our directions do not overlap, and the position in the firm she occupies much higher than I. But no stone was left unturned not only from the accusations, but also from my family life. Despite the entreaties of her and my parents, Sophia took the children. Yes, we also had a beautiful daughter a year ago, and went to her mother's house and through a lawyer gave me notice of the start of divorce proceedings. However, life goes on. I have now been living with my girlfriend, a student from my college, whose name is Laura, like my first lover, for several months. I live predominantly at her place, and my house stands empty, as I can't stay there alone. Memories begin, and I start sawing sawdust, and in my position one can't go soft. Recently she asked me if I'd mind trying something new that we hadn't tried yet. I said sure. I generally like to experiment. She clarified again, and I said, yes, of course. In agreeing, I didn't realize it could take such a turn. So, the point is, I asked her what this new thing was, and she said, oh, it's just something I'll like. Maybe I'll show you a little later. That was about 10 days ago. Went to her house today, and when I got there, I found her BF there, who I hadn't met before, and whom she introduced as David. She then introduced me to him, and said that the new thing she wanted to try was that she wanted both of us to fuck her at the same time. I was just shocked. I have a broad-minded attitude, but the very thought of being in the same bed with another man doesn't make me enthusiastic. I just didn't know how to respond to her desire to have sex with another man. She, on the other hand, kept saying that I said I would do whatever she wanted. Slowly coming to my senses, I asked her, Laura, how long has this affair of yours lasted? How many guys have you fucked behind my back like this? Then she started to get angry, accusing me of shaming her, etc. A big argument ensued, and eventually I left to spend the night at my place. Later she texted me that she was having serious thoughts about continuing the relationship, but I didn't even reply. I don't know what to do. Or rather, I know what I don't want to do. I don't want to dig in the dirt. Although, if you look at it objectively, it's the dirt I've created. And now I have to choose. Either I'm going to keep crawling through this filth, or I have to get Shfaya and the kids back. I know that if I set my mind to it, she'll come back to me. But what am I supposed to do when I get bored again?